Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for jumping on here with Michael Higdon. 19 years in the business, living down there in Louisville. We're going to have a great talk. Stick around. Here we go. Michael, good morning.
What an intro. You need that intro like anytime you walk into a room or a listing appointment. It's like, hey, before we start, let me show you my intro real quick. It'll make me look a lot better than I actually am.
There you go. That scuba picture.
That scuba picture, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I got to ask you real quick because I know you went to the Derby. I've never been to the Derby. Was the place just going nuts?
An Indiana boy not being to the Derby.
I've been to the 500. I've been to the 500 many times. I was hoping.
I've been to the 500. It's like our local Mardi Gras. 2 weeks of celebration. For two. The old joke is 2 weeks of celebration for 2 minutes of horse racing. Yeah. But it's always our showpiece, and it's a fantastic time. And
how about this year, man? Oh my goodness!
It didn't disappoint with that long shot. Just
Rich
coming out of the blue. It just shows you. I mean, that horse was purchased for I think $30,000 last year. It only won one race, and it wasn't even in the Derby. I guess the night before, and the jockey was up north racing. So it just shows you
I read something. It was like an hour before, 30 minutes before something. There was like that scratch, and they like threw him in there. Whatever. He's like the complete long shot. Man, put $200 on him.
Talk about the stars lining up. Yeah, we bet everything else except that horse. So.
There you go. Well, it was a great time. I watched that. Yeah, I'll tell everybody out there, if you haven't seen the race, I mean, 2 minutes, watch it on YouTube. Unbelievable. Rich Strike. They didn't even mention his name until the last 5
Here comes Rich Strike out of the blue, out of a cannon. He took off.
Yeah, it was amazing. Are you from Louisville? Born and raised?
Born and raised. Yeah, born and raised. Went to University of Kentucky in Lexington. So proud Kentucky Wildcat fan. And but then
Kyle Macy. Do you remember Kyle Macy?
Oh, remember? Heck yeah.
He's from my hometown.
Is he?
Good friends with him, his family. Yeah, for sure. So Mr. Basketball in Indiana. It was a big deal when he went to Kentucky. So Rick Roby
on our team, member of our team, and national championship 1978. Goose Givens, and what a great career. So I've grown up being a Kentucky fan, and as you mentioned, Realtor for 19 years here locally. Have been in sales pretty much all my life. Graduated in '94 and came back here and just started been selling real estate since 2003. So in the 19th year, and still.
What got you into real estate? Why real estate?
I was working for a technology company that we sold projectors all across the state, and I worked in education, and that job was going well. And I wanted to be more into the investment side and real estate side. So I said, I better get my license. So I started to get that, and was getting that at nights, and started dabbling it part-time. And then the company I was working for said, hey, they pulled a mini Enron, and the upper brass was fudging with the numbers. And so they said, we're filing bankruptcy, and we're shutting our doors. This was a top 500 publicly traded company. And I was like, wow, well, I guess I got to go into selling real estate full time now. So I started calling upon builders. This was 2004, and the market was great. And I just went out and talked to builders and put in the same sales techniques that I used in corporations. Just, it's still a contact business. No matter where you go, you have to build relationships and have conversations. So I think I sold 35, 40 houses my first year in real estate, just by, I don't want to say dumb luck, but just by hustling, being out there. I was 31 years old. So still young enough and dumb enough not to know enough.
I hear you. I did 32 my first year. And a lot of that came through coaching, but it was hustling. And I think, talk about our why. My why was big. I mean, my wife was home with our 2 kids, 6 and 3, and it was all on me. It's like, man, when you have to put food on the table, you'll figure out how to do it. I mean,
absolutely.
I think that's the problem. Some people, it's like the why is not big. I'm just, real estate. Everybody's getting their license. Why not? Why not me?
Yeah.
And then they sit back and wait for the phone to ring. That's not going to work.
And I know with me, like I said, I was kind of bouncing around, not knowing, and I really didn't have a schedule or hadn't worked on my skills. And then I had a great cross sell with an agent here locally, and she said, you're really aggressive. You've got a great skill set. She said, have you ever gotten into coaching? I said, no. So she introduced me to her coaching program, which was Mike Ferry at the time. So started following that and learned that, you've got to work on your skills every single day, work on your schedule every single day. Because if you don't have those in place, then you're like a boat without a rudder and letting the day bounce you around without knowing where it's going.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things you mentioned too, just, when you're working in corporate world, it just reminded me, there's so much that is out of our control, and that's the one thing that I do love about this business. It really is. So much of it is in our control in the sense of just the more people you talk to, the more money you'll make.
It is.
And it's a numbers game,
Well, that's a great segue. I don't miss that part of the corporate world at all. I did my time in the corporate world, and I'm thankful for that time, but I realize that I'm a much better manager of myself and harder on myself than any manager is ever going to be in a corporation. And the things that I've learned going along, reading books, is that number one, you have to still work on your skills. You have to show up every single day. I had somebody turned me on to this one book, and we talk about it is a numbers game. It's a book by Nick Murray, and it's the game of numbers. It's actually professional prospecting for financial advisors. Now you can scratch out that financial advisor part and put in whatever sales game you're in. But he talks about, and he uses the analogy a lot of going into the casino. And you and I have been to the casino before with some of our EXP stuff. But if you go to the slot machine, and if you put in enough coins in there, it's going to pay out. It will eventually pay out with enough money. And he talks about, if you talk to enough people and have enough engagement with people, that's eventually going to pay out just by numbers. It has to, by the law of just putting in the work. The problem is that most people either don't sit down at the slot machine, they walk right past it, or they don't have the discipline enough to actually stay through the monotonous boredom of putting in the numbers every single day. And that can be whether you're doing it on the phone, whether you're calling investors, whether you're going knocking door to door, which still does work. I don't do it myself, but I used to do it a lot. You can go knock on doors and basically verbal vomit on 100 people in your own neighborhood with a bad script saying, hey, are you guys looking to sell? Hey, are you guys looking to move? Not the best script, but invariably somebody out of those 100 people is going to say, it's funny that you stopped by because we were thinking about selling here in the next couple of months. And that you can do that with any corporation knocking on doors. The premise of that is you've got to knock on the doors. You've got to ask the questions. And if you get better at asking the questions, the numbers will start to turn out. And then you'll start to see a pattern of, okay, do I need to work on my skill better? Do I need to work on a better neighborhood? Or you can start, taking that from a 50,000 foot view on what works for you.
For sure. To grow every day. And you do that by going through some of this kind of stuff, man. There's so many, we all make those mistakes. My goodness, at the beginning, how many times I screw up along the way, but you don't do it again. You learn from it, you grow from it,
And that's the notes that I wrote down from the skill standpoint. That's the first thing that I work on every single day. I'm still role playing with great, strong agents across the country, scripts that I'm going to use every day, whether it's a objection handler for, we want to price it lower, or we don't want to pay that commission, or, we practice that back and forth so that when you actually get on the phone, you've already had that objection, you know how to handle it. Again, sharpening your saw, sharpening your blade every single day. The second thing I focus on is actually having that schedule. If you are that boat without a rudder, you're just going to bounce around every single day. From 8 to 11 or 8 to 12 every single day is money time for us, whether I'm calling agents to tell them about the opportunity within our own company, or whether I'm starting out the day with expired for sell by owners, just listed, just sold, estates, probates. I know that's a big part of my business that we've talked about in other podcasts. If you don't have that schedule, if you don't do that in the morning, then the snakes get out. We call it the snakes getting out in the afternoon, meaning all out of the cage. You can't control your afternoon if you don't have it set in the morning. But so that's the second thing that we talk about is schedule. And the third thing that we focus on is really systems. And I don't know if you want to delve into that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Talk about the, you know, there's going to be people watching this that have been in the business 20 years, like you and me. There's people that just got licensed 6 months ago and they're trying to figure it out. I mean, so, I mean, you know, and we can all learn 20 years later, you're still working on your schedule.
I'm still working on things
and role playing and stuff. Yeah.
I've had a coach my whole career, you know, and I've had several different coaches and, you know, these are agents that some are younger than me, some are older than me that have had success in certain areas. And they give you, it's basically people giving you insight into your own business and saying, okay, let's take a look at it. What's working for you? What's not working for you? Within our company, we have a great system called KV Core. It's a great CRM. I also use a system called Follow Up Boss that has a few more bells and whistles. The best CRM, you know, the old adage is the one that you actually use. Same with technology. If you're not using one, then that's not the right one for you. But I know we delved into the systems of, and the buzzword is, how are we going to provide value to our clients? You know, in the past, when the market's really good, you know, you used to have the 3 Ps of put a sign in the yard, put a lockbox on the door, and pray that it sells. Well, that last P is kind of gone away. You basically can just show up, put a sign in the yard, put a lockbox on the door. And if you've done a pretty good job of pricing it and position it within your marketing plan, it's going to sell. And then the clients are kind of like, now, well, what can you do for me now differently? How can we provide value? Well, before it was like, well, we're going to put a flyer out on the box for you. We're going to provide professional photography and we're going to stage this for you. That's kind of commonplace now. If you're not providing those, you know, automatically, then you're falling behind. So now we're looking at, and we got into a mastermind discussion with my coach and some other folks that were on there. It's like, how can we provide value? It's not about me. It's about how can I provide value to you? So we talked about maybe have a handyman that we say, listen, we're going to pay $1,000, up to $1,000 for any fix up that you need. We'll send our handyman over to make the property show better prior to getting it on the market. We can do a pre-marketing inspection to bring out any things that a buyer might find. If you're moving, I know some agents in larger markets, they own Airbnbs. And you hear all the time, well, I'd sell my house, but I don't have anywhere to go. So that they're selling their house and they're saying, look, I'll give you my Airbnb or lease it out to you for 2 months while we find your next house. Or they're buying storage facilities and say, I've got this great storage facility. I can help you or give you my storage facility for free to store all your furniture. Or I've got a moving van. You know, you list with me, use my moving van for free. So there's all these things that you can come and, you know, use out of the box thinking. It's like, why am I going to pay you 3%? Well, you look at it and say, well, which one of us can put the house on the MLS the best, right? What can I do, right? What's my magic power of putting it on the MLS, right? So then you've got to get outside the box of, well, not only do I do that, but I'm adding all these things of value, Mr. Seller, to get you down the line, to net you more money so that when you go up the competition and you put those two on paper, Mr. Seller, which one's going to provide you? Not only do we have the expertise, the track record of selling 50, 60, however many homes you're selling a year, but we're also adding you this value. Which one of these is going to work for you so that we can get you on the market and net you the most amount of money?
Right. I think, yeah, and one of the things I learned early on, I think too, I was part of Craig Proctor's program, you know, and
Absolutely.
You know, great program, coaching program. But, you know, one of the things, you know, like, how do you know, there's, okay, like in Colorado Springs, there's what, you know, I don't know, 5,000 realtors now. What makes you, why should they hire you?
Exactly.
You know, and what do you do? Well, if you do all the same things everybody else is doing, I mean, it's just like, well, what's the point? You know, I mean, so how do you stand out? How do you make yourself stand out? Sometimes it can just be even in just getting more efficient with your skills and explaining things. Like, I never had a problem getting my commission. You know, we get beat up on commissions all the time. There were many times on listings I'd go for 7% instead of 6%. I mean, this is me personally, you know, not to get into commission talk, but I was able to get more sometimes because, again, when you demonstrate the value, cost is a factor in the absence of value.
Yes.
If they don't see the value on there, they're going to beat you up. If the value is there, like I could get them 7%, like everybody else is charging 6 and 5 and 4. Well, here's what I do. and I do 7, like, and they're signing like on the, wow, like you're doing so much more than anybody else that we met with. And sometimes it was more, sometimes it was just that the other people, they're not explaining what they do.
Yeah.
They're not, they're not telling the explain, because I do think people sometimes they, the seller's like, oh my God, you guys just show up at closing and get this big fat check. They don't realize all the stuff that we do. Because, how many deals have we kept together at 10 o'clock at night sometimes when, and they have no idea. But I explain all that to everybody. I'm very upfront with all the people, all the work that we're doing and everything we're doing. So they feel great about writing that, signing off on that when we're, at closing and we're getting this check. They feel great about it. I want them to feel great about it because we did work hard.
And if you can quantify that value, or just, say, okay, Mr. Seller, do you agree with our marketing plan? Yeah, I think you can get it sold. Do you think, do you like my expertise, or do you like my track record? Great. So if we can nail down, is it the marketing that you don't like? Is it the commission that's the issue from listing? I'm not trying to talk you into doing anything, but I'm just trying to simply provide you value and help you get down the road here. The commission won't be something that keeps us from doing business together. What were you thinking? And ask them, about, and sometimes in this market, do you have to cut your commission? You do. If you have to get the business. There's a great story my coach tells about one of his clients, who's in Southern California. His dad was an immigrant farmer. And he was calling Aaron saying, I was at this listing appointment and the guy wanted me to cut my commission. And he says, well, how much was the listing? He said, it was $800,000. He said, well, how much are you going to make off of it? He's like, I'm going to make $16,000 with the commission the way that it's cut. And he says, tell me something. He said, what did your dad do? He's like, well, he was an immigrant farmer. And he came over here, worked in the fields all day long. He said, did he have air conditioning? He's like, no. He says, Luis, if you called your dad right now and told him that, Dad, I get to spend all day in air conditioning. I get to say a few words to somebody. I drive out there maybe 45 minutes to an hour, put this house on the market, and I'm going to get $16,000 for selling this house. If you called your dad and told him that you were willing to give up $16,000, what do you think he'd say to you? He said, he'd probably tell me to go get the effing money and shut up and quit crying about my cush job. So He did. He went out there, signed the agreement, got it for that, ended up selling that home, ended up selling this next home, which was $1 million home, got full commission on that, ended up selling all of his brother's houses and all his family houses. So he had to get past that, that initial, think about what we do, Jeff. We sit in most of the time, air conditioning or heated, depending upon the climate. We say a few words. If you say them well enough and show a propensity to do a good job, you have the capacity to make a really good living doing this. Yeah, the problem is, I think people's mindset gets wrapped around that about what we do. If you just stick to and break it down to that, just talk to a lot of people. We're in the people business. I had an agent that said, I would get or they were getting their license, and they said, I want to get my license, but I don't really, really like people that much. I said, that may be a problem for you because there's these little things that they put in houses, and they're called people, and we're in the people business. We don't sell houses. We're in the people business.
Yeah, so true. So true. Can you talk for just a second, Michael? Because and again, we did do a training for our group, and I appreciate you doing that. But just to touch on this, just as something to think about, because I do think, the more niches you can come up with, the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better you're going to do. Who knows where we're headed with this economy, this market? Everybody's talking recession. I don't know where it's going, but none of us are in control of it. But one of the things that you've done very well with, obviously, the last 6-7 years, probates and estates. Can you touch on that just briefly? How did you get? Yeah, how did you get into that area of real estate?
It's kind of a training we do called Recession-Proof your business. Unfortunately, there's a lot, with the baby boomers, and this is never to sound morbid or anything or not compassionate, but there's a large demographic of the population that is passing away. It's just, we're all going to that big real estate place in the sky. Mm-hmm. And I noticed with a lot of my friends, unfortunately, their parents are passing away. And I kind of started to fall into this niche of, helping folks with their estate. And so I started to get educated on it more and more. And it's become probably a quarter to a third of my business where I'm helping, I actively go out to folks and say, look, this is a niche that we serve. There's, again, tons of people that are passing away, but a lot of times the executors or the administrators, they've never had to deal with a probate or an estate like this. They may be out of town. They don't know what to do. So we've developed a system of where we provide, a service, not only on the real estate side, but if they need help on the clean out, the cleanup, if they need a handyman or someone coming over there, if they need an estate sale person. So we have a long list of folks that we can help them soup to nuts, as the saying goes, top to bottom. I've had probably 15 to 16 executors that I've never met face to face. We've had a relationship because they're out of town, they're in Florida, they're up north or something. And
Sure.
I said, look, you can send me the keys, or if you have somebody here locally that we can get into the property and help you, guide you, get you from the start to the end and be that conduit to help you move that along. It's just because every single month there's a new list of estates that comes out. So again, so you get through that first list and then you start working on the next group of executors that's coming through. So I would say that on average, probably the list that comes through for me is 150, 200 people a month. And once we reach out to them or kind of pare that down, it's about 75. We talk to about half of them, end up listing or talking to about 2 to 4 people a month, and list about 1 to 2 properties like that, and then they sell. So could you imagine, adding another leg? I call it a leg on your production table, because I believe we are going into a recession. But This is it's kind of like the liquor business. People drink liquor in good times. People drink it in the bad times. They're still going to have real estate to sell, no matter just because that's kind of the way that we're going.
Yeah, no. And well, yeah. And again, not to be morbid about it, but it's never going away.
It's not. And it's just
it has no bearing on interest rates or, anything. It's just, there will be.
And even and I tell folks even if you're an investor, most of the time, I'd say 95% of the times, these properties are vacant. There's nobody living there. There may still be a lot of belongings in there. I've bought them myself. I've flipped them before, where the executor's like, look, I don't want to fool with any of this. Do you want to buy this? And I tell them I can wear multiple hats. The first hat I'm going to wear, Mr. Seller, is to honor your father, mother, cousin, whoever it was the estate was for. I imagine they would want you to sell the property for the highest amount of money in the shortest amount of time to honor the estate. And they're like, yes or no. Or they could just say, I just want to get rid of it. I need the money out of it. Because when the bills start coming due, and if there's no money in the account, the only place they have money is the equity that may be in the estate. So their motivation starts to ramp up a little bit when those other bills start to come due. And they're like, well, we've got to sell the house because I don't want it. My sister doesn't want it, or none of the heirs want it. So this is a thing where, we have to sell the home. So it just becomes an easier sell. Then you can put that hat on and say, well, I'll give you such and such for it. And these executors are getting a lot of letters from investors, because the investor, the available pool of properties outside of the states has kind of dried up with the inventory that's gone down.
Yeah.
So they're getting, these not so professional letters saying, I'll give you $75,000 for it. I saw somebody died in the family. Do you want to sell the property? Very non-compassionate. We do send out a letter that's much more, hey, we realize this may be a tough time for you. Here's some of the services that we provide. Oh, yes. And ultimately, if you're looking to get a price on the house or find out what it may sell for in this market, we'd be happy to get together with you on that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then if you do a good job for them, normally there's multiple heirs within the estate. And this is not just a transactional type business. This is I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a hug from the people at the closing table saying, you know what, we couldn't have done this without you. And thank you so much. And then I add them to my database, and then I start getting calls from them or actively market to them and just say, hey, can I provide you value moving forward? Yeah. So then you're building up your database at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm providing a great service for people. Obviously, especially if they're out of state and stuff. How do we deal with this? And for you to be able to jump in and help. So, anyway, I would throw it out there. If any of you guys want, if you go to my YouTube channel, whatever, you can talk to Michael. directly, give him a call. He's down there in Louisville, but we do have an hour-long recording on there of the training that you did for us. It was awesome. I mean, we really dove into that, websites to go to, things you can subscribe to, your letters that you write, different things. So definitely a great tool to
and then you put a system beside, and I'm big. That was the other buzzword I want to put is we're big on systems. And we talked about Follow-Up Boss. One of the things that my coach and I are doing is really adding that next value. So there's a system or a app called AM Cards. I think there's another one called Send Out Cards. This is one that I've tied in. It's an automated system. So I've gone back and I've added in all my clients' birthdays, all of their anniversaries, so that it's automated now that when their birthday rolls around, they get a card sent to them on their birthday. Who doesn't want to get a card on their birthday? And now it's like it's easy to text or do whatever, but you get a card. Oh, wow, that's an extra thing. With that, I send out, a small thing of chocolates with it, and you get that mailed to you. And I don't think about it anymore. It's just automated. I started this 6 months ago. So I'm getting all these people now that are like, wow, I got this in the mail. I got these chocolates. I send out one for their wedding anniversaries if they're married. And I also send out a home anniversary. So when they purchase their house, hey, congratulations on your 1-year home anniversary with a picture of their house in there. The other thing we do is when we take a new listing, we automate that to say, congratulations, thanks for signing up with us to list your house. And it sends out a candle. And it's kind of cheesy, but it's like, let's light our relationship on a great start. So they get a nice scented candle from us. When it goes under contract, it sends out a Starbucks gift card. It says, selling a home can be a lot. It says latte work. So go relax and have a nice cup of coffee or whatever on us and let us do finish the work. And then finally, we've lined ourselves up with a couple of, I've gone on Etsy and found some really nice closing gifts so that when it closes, it automatically goes to my Etsy people. The order comes through. Then about a week later, they get a nice, it's a big plaque, or it says the Higdon family, bless the food before us, bless the family beside us, and the love between us. I've got one over our table too, but it's this big plaque that can sit over the table, and it has their name, but they're going to see it every day, and they're going to remember, awesome. Wow, who sent that to you when they have people over? Oh, my realtor sent that to us.
That's awesome.
Another talking point. But again, you systemize that, and then once you have that on there, you set it, forget it. And
it makes it simple, but you're winning these people over for life.
You are.
They're coming back to you 5 years, 6 years later. They're going to refer people to you. You're going to do multiple deals over time with them. And, pull back on your, use your marketing budget to do the stuff you're doing. They're brand new leads that are,
I mean, you're really putting in maybe $50 to $75 per client. On this. If you don't have that to spend on your client, then you don't have a valuable client there. And then you've got to realize that this could be a client for life. Plus you're automating a monthly email newsletter to them. You should be calling them once a quarter. You should be sending them a video once a quarter saying, hey, I was thinking about you. I want to give you a quick market status update for your neighborhood. I see that here's how many listings you have in the neighborhood. Keep me in mind for anyone that that may be looking to buy or sell, and hopefully we can give them the same value that brought into you over the years.
That's awesome. Tons of great ideas, man.
And I was telling you before we came on, we were talking. You asked me what I was doing this weekend. We're doing my neighborhood. Our pool opens this weekend, so we're celebrating Memorial Day and the opening of our pool tomorrow from 1 to 3. We have a ice cream truck that we hired out. It was like a minimum $300 you have to spend. That's a lot of ice cream, but we have a ton of kids coming over. That's co-sponsored with my one of my premier or select not realtors, but lenders. Okay. So he's got a big tent. We've got cornhole boards. We've got some giveaways, some gift cards, but we said, come out for those 2 hours and eat as much ice cream as you want. And that'll be on us. And I posted a video on our HOA site. I had my daughter and my son on their bikes, and they were out stuffing the paper boxes with the nice flyer. So everybody's going to know about it. And it puts your face out there in the neighborhood and again, providing
awesome
value to your subdivision.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick before you go, because I know you got to leave here in just a second. We'll wrap it up. But how long have you been at EXP?
I've been with EXP. I moved over August 1 of 2018 So I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary, August 1. And it's been nothing short of 15 years with Remax, great institution, great brokerage. But I saw the model, and it's changed the course of my financial future with the stock options, the equity options that we have, the agent attraction portion of it, all the systems that we have in place. So there's the education. We get 80 hours of education every single week. So there's so many things that you can opt into this company that I don't get to every single week, because there's just so much.
Right. So. Can I ask you real quick? Because I mean, what was the biggest challenge maybe you were facing before EXP that EXP has helped to maybe not solve completely yet, but it's helping to solve in that direction? Is there something?
I think I was comfortable. I think it was more of a mindset. I was complacent and comfortable and not challenging myself. And but I think I looked at it and I'm like, well, this offers a whole nother realm of, I'm doing the same thing, selling real estate, but I'm making money 3-4 different ways instead of just the typical one way, where it was, I had a great broker, but it's at the end of the day, it was like, hey, great job. You get a pat on the back. You maybe get a little pin, get your name on a wall, and it's, go do it again. That's all it was. Well, now I don't need the pat on the back. I don't need the block of wood that they give you at the end of every year. Show me the money. And that's where, it comes across in the stock options. I mean, that's gone through the roof just from where I was spending, I was paying a 5% franchise fee before. Now I take that 5% and I invest that every closing that I have on company stock. And that's quickly added up to several hundreds of thousands of dollars in a very short amount of time. And I've gotten my Icon awards. That's for, again, benchmarks for production levels that I was doing before. But with that, I get my capping fees back in the form of stock. And, when I was first with the company, the shares were selling at $6, $7, $8, and we only had 9,000 agents. Well, that shot up to $150, $160, did a split. Now we've got 80,000 plus agents, and, company just continues to grow, and there's so many more options.
Yeah. Yeah. All the stocks are down right now, which is a great time to buy. I've been buying extra.
But they're down. Yeah. Everything's down.
Everything's down.
Stocks are down. It's like everything's on sale. So it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, I was, and I've told this story before. I was with it was a Remax agent. This has been several months ago now, but she's like, "Well, what if the stock goes to $1?" I said, "Well, then I guess I'm a Remax agent." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, how much are they giving you?" Like, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket, but it's a nice bonus to get on the side. I mean, I'm like you. We got several $100,000 now. That
Can you imagine being $1? I'd mortgage the house again.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, anyway, well, it's been great having you on here, man. I appreciate it. Holiday weekend coming up. I know you're gonna go golf and then eat a lot of ice cream tomorrow. So get your money's worth over there.
You got to play and mix a little fun with business, right?
Absolutely. So, well, Michael, I appreciate you being on here. You're doing some great things over here. Obviously, tons of great value in this for sure. Just great ideas for people to think about. And I think one thing you got to adjust. When the markets adjust, the good agents adjust, and you get through it. We see a lot of people leave the business when things get challenging and tough. That's when you grow. That's when you can get creative and really make yourself stand out. And not be whatever, one of the ones that all of a sudden they're just gone. And we see that a lot in this business.
A group of great agents like we have here that we can correspond with. And it's not just you're stuck with one broker. You have a bunch of people around.
Yep. Get around the best, collaborate, work together, man. Everybody gets through it, and you're better for it in the end. So It's going to be awesome. Michael, I appreciate your time. Guys, thank you very much for jumping on. Of course, if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe on there. We're doing a couple of these a week, all kinds of trainings that are on there, whatever. Facebook, LinkedIn, you see us all over the place. So again, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad.
Have a great rest of your day. Okay, we'll see you.